everyone, and thank you for joining us here today on the first day of the Singapore FinTech Festival at the ESG stage. My name is Simin, and I'm the head of product of Greenprint. For those who don't know what Greenprint is actually a venture that was spun out of the Monetary Authority of Singapore. And as of this morning, it was announced also that we are part of one of the digital platforms of the GFTN network. Now, Greenprint's mission actually is very simple. We are here to bridge this global ESG data challenge. The reason why this is actually even important is because we believe that data is necessary in order to allow the efficient allocation of capital towards transition activities. Businesses need financing naturally to transition, and financial institutions need data to enable these financial institutions to make their financing decisions. So, with that, we're very, very happy to announce that as of today, we have launched an ESG disclosure solution. In just 5 clicks, you're supposed to already be able to generate basic emissions data, you as in all companies, big companies and small companies. But with that, it's often times that SMEs would ask us, disclosure is not enough. So what do I do next after disclosure? Action is actually key. So what is the point of measuring if you don't know what to do with it? So today we're also really happy and excited to share that we have launched the first version of the Greenprint marketplace. Beyond the first version, we actually spent many, many months talking to ecosystem partners. We talked to SMEs, we talked to banks, we talked to solution providers, we talked to ecosystem partners, we talked to trade associations, and naturally the public sector as well. And we asked this same question. Why is it so difficult to action on sustainability? And the answers are so interesting and so diverse. We realize that, number one, businesses sometimes are not even thinking about sustainability. That already is an issue. Your funnel is small. Those who care about sustainability then don't really know what they need to do next after measurement. Now, even if you know what you should do next, I need to deploy sensors, I need to be more energy efficient. The next question is, how do I do that? There are solutions, but they are fragmented, they're seated everywhere. And now let's say for some reason you found the right solution, you know exactly what you're gonna do. The barrier of entry can sometimes be so challenging for SMEs as well because it costs something to deploy, it costs something to maintain, and it costs something that is much more precious, which is the SME's time, and they don't have that. With that, I'll very, very quickly like to share with you the future of the Greenprint Marketplace. The Greenprint Marketplace has been launched to bring solutions together because to the theme of today's session, in order to go not just fast, but to go far, we have to go together. There is no one solution that allows a business to transition and work on their transition strategy. There's no magic button. So this is our vision of the Greenprint Marketplace. We talked about, naturally like any marketplace, ability for companies to come together, be discovered. But more importantly as well, it's a whole bunch of thousands of interesting companies, but where do I start? So analytics and AI and the use of intelligence to help people customize and generalize a baseline recommendation. Now I won't go into this because this is, imagine you are in a pre-login page. Now, what if imagine you are an SME? You are inside the Greenprint platform and you have done a disclosure already. The first thing we play back to an SME is a dashboard. This dashboard shows you this is what you have told us is your emissions intensity. And you need to get to net zero. Here are 5 tangible steps that you can take on. And on the left-hand side, my left-hand side, your right-hand side, you also see actions for decarbonization. SMEs always wonder, for every dollar I spend, what am I getting back? So we want to create not just recommendations, but a quantifiable measure for you to understand what that dollar is bringing you as well. Now you said, oh, green energy looks really interesting, let me click on that. Then also applying intelligence to start to recommend to you the solutions that really matter to you based on your profile and the strategies that you are planning to deploy. Of course, let's say you're looking at all these recommended solutions. EcoPower looks pretty interesting. Let me go in there. What you see here is an example of a solution provider card. You get to see basic information, very common in marketplaces, but more importantly, as well as you scroll down, your decarbonization pathway is played back to you. And this is critical. To deploy or use a solution is never really about that one solution. It actually is a series of solutions that comes together. So now let's say energy management system, we would like to do that. Can Greenprint's marketplace bring you a suite of solutions properly packaged together? I like to deploy EcoPower. Now, how and why should I deploy EcoPower? Is there any financing solution that helps me to, that I can untap into to make this deployment? What about assurance? Do I need for my solutions and my report to be assured? And finally, most important to SMEs, are there any grants out there that is helping me as well? And all of that comes together properly if and when we have a cohesive ecosystem. We cannot do this if you're only solution provider. You cannot do this if you're only banking products. And we hope that the marketplace can achieve that. And with that, with my 5 minutes up, it brings me a lot of joy, and very proud also to invite our fellow panelists, each of whom are a critical node in this ecosystem story. Invite them on stage to share with us their perspectives. So we have Mr. Cedric Chong, we have Mr. Ching, and we have Mr. Zach Wong. I do need that. All right. Well, thank you very much, very esteemed panelists, for joining us today. I think to start off the session might be worthwhile kind of going through a bit of a short introduction. Zach, do you want to start with you?
Hello. Okay. So, good afternoon, everyone. So, just a quick introduction of myself. So, my name is Zach. So, I'm from this company called TÜVSÜD. So, we are a German MNC that actually do assurance, certification, and verification. So, I think working together with Greenprint have gone very far. So, I think it's more on the helping companies to do assurance for the ESG side of work. Yep. So, I'll pass to Ching next.
Hi. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ching. I'm from the Singapore Business Federation. SBF is Singapore's APAC Business Chamber. We represent more than 30,000 businesses. At SBF, I spearhead initiatives to get businesses in Singapore to recognize the value of sustainability and also to support them along this sustainability journey. Thanks.
Simin, fellow esteemed panelists, Zach and Ching, dearest delegates, very good afternoon to you. It's good to be back at the Singapore FinTech Festival. My name is Cedric Chong, Senior Sales Director APAC for Persefoni. Now, what is Persefoni? Persefoni is a carbon climate management and accounting platform that is headquartered out of the United States. Thank you for having us.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the introductions. And I think I just want to go straight into the questions now, because it is a question I'm also often asked, and I want to put this question out to the people with the boots on the ground who are themselves solutions providers. What are some of the challenges you face when you are convincing someone that, hey, you should take on, you should come and become, do assurance on your company? Maybe a question first to Sud.
Okay, so I think overall, in this Singapore landscape, we are looking a lot into sustainability, especially why do we need sustainability is because of regulations, requirements. So the first card in Singapore, people will always ask, what is the regulations or the impact that actually affects my business first? So if you look at the global landscape, there's a lot of new regulations, not just in Singapore, that will affect your supply chain. So for example, your competitors, it's also one of the things that we should be focusing on, because if your competitors is actually much ahead of you, they will be the one that other supply chains will be the one working with them first. So I would say this is a race to see that who comes out first and who comes out like the best out of the whole sustainability space itself.
Thank you, Zach. And Cedric, from your point of view, as you bring Persefoni to the audience, typically, how do SMEs respond to that solution?
Okay, so I think the biggest challenge talking to the SMEs is that of adoption, or rather the lack of adoption. I think 2 years ago at the Singapore FinTech Festival, we were talking about this. Last year, we were talking about this. And this year, we're still talking about this. And that is that they are not doing the adoption towards climate disclosure or carbon disclosure. So what am I talking about? Basically, in the space of carbon accounting, step one is what? Measure. Most of the organizations, not even the SMEs, but enterprises that I speak to, and I speak to about 200 organizations in the past 1.5 years in Asia Pacific, there are even large enterprises who are not taking step one, which is measure. And the interesting thing is, as part of this subset, that I come across some of these organizations where they actually skip step one and they go directly into step two, which is decarbonization. You might have come across something like that. They will say that, oh, I've installed some solar panels. As part of our decarbonization journey, we are implementing business travel card. Now, don't get me wrong, any decarbonization is a step in the right direction. But what we have found is, for many of these organizations, even business travel could account for less than 5% of their total organizational carbon footprint. In fact, for some of them, it's less than 1%. So you're not making the right decisions, and you're jumping the step one, which is measure. And that is really one of the big problems that we are facing. And if you're zooming down into this SME challenge, I have the privilege of working with quite a number of the government agencies over the past 1.5 years. The many different agencies, they are really trying to tackle this problem. They are throwing out incentives, they're throwing out grants, 50% grants, 70% grants, putting together workshops and events like this. Now, the approaches have some level of success, and the biggest number one problem is cost, especially as what Simin, you mentioned at your introduction. Many times for SME, 70% grant is still 30% too expensive. That is number one. Oh, thank you. He's the only one who laughed. Thank you. Second problem, scalability. Any climate disclosure or climate problem is a scalability problem. If you do not have a solution that scale, it won't work. So we have all the different entities, the agencies, private sector, public sector, going out one by one, bottom up, or even 10 by 10. You do 100 by 100, also no use. In the tiny country of Singapore, there are 300,000 SMEs. If you do 100 by 100, when are you going to do that? So you need that solution. So in a summary, the challenge that I face is one of lack of adoption. So before I wrap up, I want to share a story. In my past 1 year, I've reached out to the top 30 SMEs in Singapore. Some of them even listed on SGX. 90% of them are not ready to have a carbon conversation. And I want to share a very interesting story. I reached out to one of the small business owner. I met him, he's the tauke. I met him at the local McDonald's where he's wearing flip-flop and shorts. And we sat down and he said, hey, Cedric, I see this ESG on the Straits Times all the time. It seems that the government is really pushing for it. Yes. And your solution, Persefoni, it helps to measure your scope 1, scope 2 very accurately, and scope 3, yes? Music to my ears. Cedric, can you come and teach me so that I can go and sell and make some money? Back to you.
Thanks, Cedric. I think you really paint a very vivid picture. Also, even with Greenprint, taking this solution to SMEs, it is not 70% grant is 30% too expensive, but it's 30% too expensive and it's also 100% too much of my time. So there really is quite a big of a movement happening to get people on and coming along. And also the part that you talked about with agencies and government stepping in is really interesting because it brings together very nicely into our next perspective because Ching, coming from the Singapore Business Federation, you must work with a lot of SMEs and you must work with a lot of government agencies as well. So big question here is, what is the role of trade associations and why do SPF care about sustainability for your members?
Fantastic question. I'll just have a quick clarification. We speak to all sorts of businesses, large, small. We also are the nexus between government and the private sector, and I think we play quite a unique role in that sense. As to your question itself, what is the role of trade associations in all of this? Well, trade associations primarily exist to help companies in that particular sector, in that particular industry, to thrive. To thrive in this century means to take sustainability seriously. Part of it, as we speak to a lot of companies, trade associations tend to be quite neutral. It's a different conversation that trade associations have with companies as opposed to a solutions provider having. The conversation tone would be different if a trade association were to have that conversation with the company versus a solution provider with the company. So one of the most important things that we are doing at Singapore Business Federations and across many trade associations is trying to convince the companies, especially SMEs, to recognize the value of sustainability. There is a very widespread misperception out there that undertaking initiatives to work on decarbonization, for example, is very costly and comes with very minimal tangible benefits. So we were trying to demystify that. We're trying to show them that indeed it doesn't have to be costly. It doesn't have to be as complex as widely perceived. And that there is a lot of tangible value, whether it's in terms of cutting costs or whether it's in terms of opening new revenue streams. There's a lot of value in doing that. The second role is that trade associations, we play a very unique role because we bring everybody in the ecosystem together. We bring the solution providers and the companies that are keen on adopting these solutions together in a trusted space. The conversation that we have is very neutral. We help them to sense make what the options are, and we help them to support them in terms of making decisions. So one example, right? Imagine if you're an SME. In most SMEs, you actually don't have a dedicated ESG or sustainability officer or dedicated ESG team. You have a head of finance or you have a head of operations, and very often you get this person to also take on the role as a sustainability officer. But this person has a full-time job. From 8 o'clock to 6 o'clock, this person is working on his finance portfolio or his operations portfolio. He doesn't have extra capacity. He doesn't have extra bandwidth to think about sustainability solutions. When you want to, roll out a sustainability initiative, you have to speak to at least 3 to 4 different solution providers to get a very good competitive quote. Now, who's going to do that? Well, this head of finance or head of operations won't have the capacity or bandwidth to do so. So at SBF, we actually attach sustainability advisors, they are experts, to these companies to help them do some of this work and hopefully to ease up the capacity constraints that they face.
Thanks, Hu Ching.
Can I add, even in large enterprises, I've seen the CFO get arrowed to do sustainability also.
Yeah,
not just SME.
Exactly. So, at the end of the day, how sustainable is it to get the head of finance or head of operations to work on sustainability issues at night, right? When he's done with his day job or her day job.
Zach?
Yeah. Okay, so to add on, I think most of the companies that we actually face, because for us as an assurance company, we always do it at the last step. So we actually understand how customer face and why customer is so afraid of entering sustainability. So first of all, I think that when we are doing the verification assurance side of work, because the companies will have to give us all their information, documentations, there's a lot of problems because they're actually finding the wrong consultants or the wrong partners they are working with. That's why people are so afraid. So I remember that I was, 2 weeks back, I was in a trip to Taiwan. I was speaking to some of the people, consultants and regulators over there. They are telling me that there is this platform company coming from Singapore, flying over there, telling them that the Singapore government endorsed it, working very closely with them and things like that. And they actually start the project with them. So when they start the project with them, it ends up that the company do not understand anything. They actually lead the first pilot project with the government to a wrong end. Yeah, so this is actually something that a lot of people is afraid of, because we do meet a lot of clients. They say that, yes, we have a consultant. Yes, we have someone that is helping us. But when it goes down to the regulation, it goes down to the standards itself, a lot of gaps, a lot of loopholes over there. So I would say that that's why I think working together with all these different partners can actually bring it together to say that these are a trusted group of people that can actually bring you to the right place.
When you're told that you need to do KYC on your consultant by your assurance verifier, I think it sometimes is quite scary, actually, just hearing it. Speaking of, I might change the tone of the discussions a little bit, because we're here to look for solutions. We know that there are challenges. We know that it's costly, it's expensive. We know that there's a lot of resistance. But across your jobs and across your roles, you must have seen things that have worked very well, things that have really changed the way your customers are thinking about why they should start engaging and doing sustainability initiatives. I might actually pose this question from an SBF's perspective.
At SBF, we run several programs targeted primarily at SMEs, because that's where we feel that they need the most help, the SME segment of the market, to embrace sustainability. And some of the initiatives that we have seen these companies roll out are actually quite encouraging. So one of the programs we did was a sectoral level capability building program. We started with the food manufacturing sector. It is a very unique program because if you look at the offering in the market, a lot of programs are sector agnostic. Because the trainers actually want to reach out to as many companies as possible. But at SBF, we decided to take a sectoral approach. Yes, the addressable market is much smaller, but it also means that the recommendations that we are able to push out are more specific. So for food manufacturing, for example, some of the recommendations that we put out for consideration are not just your electrification of your fleet or changing your refrigerants or solar panels. These are all great initiatives. But for food manufacturing, we went very specific to say you could consider de-wetting before drying for some of your products. You could consider installing variable speed drives. We could consider trapping your waste gas, your waste heat, and harnessing them for other purposes. So these are very specific. They may only be relevant to the food manufacturing sector and not any other sector, but this is where the SMEs found it to be most relevant and therefore most applicable. And we didn't actually need to convince them much, because if you look at the economics of it, installing some of these initiatives actually return a positive ROI from day one.
Yeah, that is pretty impressive. In our consultation, we were told a lot of times that this $1 that has gone in, I really don't know what benefit it brings me. The ability to be able to quantify this actually is really important. And I think, Cedric, you were the one who highlighted that as well. And in your job, in your role, have you seen any initiative that has worked very well?
Initiatives that has worked very well. From what context? Whose initiatives?
Initiatives in general that have worked very well in getting people to start working on and adopting sustainability practices?
Short answer, no. Long answer, not really. I mean, if you think about it, what I've seen over the past 3 years, working with so many different agencies, the public sector, private sector, we tried a lot of things. I mentioned about the grants, the education, top-down, bottom-up, Queen Bee. And the challenge is, all these approaches, ultimately, there is still a gap. When you look at the climate problem, it is so daunting that you really need something at scale. But this year, something has changed. Right, and I think if I were to explain this to the audience, I can share a parable. You may have heard of this. This is there's a classroom, and there are 40 primary school students, and there are 40 balloons, each of them holding a balloon with a name written of one classmate. right? So the teacher will blow the balloon, blow the whistle and say that you have one goal, and that is to find a balloon with your name on it. So the teacher blow the whistle, and you can imagine 40 primary school students running around. It's all chaos. 5 minutes later, 10 students found their balloon. Not bad, 10 out of 40, 25% success rate. Then there are some balloons that are burst. At the corner, there are 3 students squatting there crying. Then the teacher say, okay, let's reset the whole thing. 40 students, 40 balloons, 40 names, right? The goal is exactly the same. Find the balloon with your name. That is your goal, your objective, and your KPI. But now the approach changed. The teacher say, read the name on the balloon that you have, pass it to your classmate. In less than 5 minutes, all 40 students got the balloon. There's no drama. There is no hardship. In fact, it's quite boring. I just passed to you. 100% success rate. So what has changed? In both cases, the KPI, the goal, the objective, exactly the same, find the balloon. But the approach has changed. Oh, the gentleman in front of me. The approach is, you have changed from WeFM to Wi-Fi. What's in it for me to what's in it for you? So this parable, I know I can see Simin looking at me, is a very dirty look. Cedric, what are you trying to say? Okay, let me get to that point. Your question now is, who is in the room? If in the room is just Simin, Zach, Ching, and Cedric, the 4 of us, we come to the room. In Singapore local context, dialect we call kaki kong, kaki song. Right? We bring everything here, we have our best solution, we are going to solve the SME challenge. Right? But if nobody else is in the room, it's not going to work. So who needs to be in the room? Everyone. Then the next question, what is the room? And this is where I feel the Greenprint marketplace that Simin showed just now, and I've been following the work for the past 2 years, is a really good embodiment of this room. Because for the first time, starting from today, Greenprint has brought together everyone from the ecosystem. You have invited technology service providers, you have brought together agencies, consultants, the banks. Why stop there? Bring all the 300,000 SMEs onto the platform. Why stop there? Bring all the 600 listed companies on the SGX into the platform. Why stop there? Bring all the top non-listed companies onto the platform. Why stop there? Bring all the companies outside of Singapore, all the sovereign wealth funds of all the different countries onto the platform. So will this work? Maybe. I do not know, but I think that is a good chance. Why? Because Greenprint is doing something that has never been done before. What is that quote? If you want something you've never had, you must be willing to do something you've never done. Thomas Jefferson. And that is exactly what Greenprint, I think they have tried something that is very different. And I would bet that this year, this time next year, if we are to come back to the Singapore FinTech Festival onto the ESG stage, maybe for the first time we will no longer be talking about, oh, what is carbon accounting, or the SMEs are not adopting. Maybe Greenprint will have solved all the problem. And next year we will be talking about, okay, step 2, how to decarbonize.
Thank you. I think, Cedric, you touched on the point of the balloons being, you go faster really when you go together because everyone is working towards that similar mission and goal. And everyone has a part to play. And I want to stick up to that going faster together story because it's important actually to us that also of the other audience and to Ching and to Zach as well, your comments about how individually in your businesses you see that we could come together so that we can drive these adoption in a faster manner. Sorry, I directed to both and either. Maybe Zach, do you want to go first?
So I think just to touch on, I think overall, like what is mentioned, I mean, companies, what is the success story for different companies in terms of sustainability? I think we shouldn't just look at sustainability just environmental, okay? Because now I think the conversation every time when we speak to a company, so what is the success if you go into sustainability? I save a certain amount of energy, I cut the amount of bills, and I think beyond sustainability, we should look at different things. Okay, so I think it's more like in your company, how can a company be sustainable? Okay, this company is sustainable because the people working there are staying there because they are happy. So that is probably you are entering the social aspects of things. So I think it's also attracting the right talent and the right people into your company that keeps your company sustainable. So I think we do not just look at the environmental aspects. So I was auditing a hotel last week, and they are also looking into a lot of different aspects. So they say that we look into the healthcare of our people, the safety aspects of our people, the environmental aspects, like for example, how much savings can I have? So the people are very happy to stay in the company and to work for the company, because they feel that this is like not a company, but this is more like a family, and we work together to actually achieve some goals. So I think overall, I would say that sustainability is not just environmental, because environmental can, sure, you can, in terms of the economic factor, you can save something. But look beyond that. Okay, how can your company actually first fit to the regulations, then how you can cut your savings, how you can actually bring people together, how can people work for you, work for this company and be happy about working over there. Yeah, so I think it's about having a company sustainably is the right way for a right company to go for. Yeah.
I'll just add to that. I think in the current ecosystem, there are quite a number of market failures. And one of the things that SPF is trying to do, together with other trade associations, is try to overcome some of these market failures. Let me give you an example. From an SME's perspective, what actually incentivizes or nudges you to take sustainability seriously is if your buyer, your customer in a B2B context, puts this pressure on you. They incorporate sustainability criteria in their procurement regime, they enhance their supplier code of conduct, and they monitor and track your sustainability performance as a result of that. Now, what is happening in Singapore for the past many, many years is that large enterprises, they actually have the capacity to do this, but they don't want to do this because they are very conscious about their SMEs. They don't want to make life difficult for SMEs. They don't want SMEs to transit without the support. And so they hold back on implementing some of these criteria. And one of these large buyers is actually the Singapore government. They have talked about incorporating sustainability criteria for a very long time, but they haven't done so beyond the construction and ICT sectors. Now, on the other hand, the SMEs, because you may be also supplying to companies in Europe, you may be supplying to some companies in North America, and these companies are quite progressive in terms of their sustainability ambition. So you want to actually invest in enhancing your sustainability performance. But because the buyers in Singapore don't actually require that of you, you procrastinate. You say it can be done next year, it can be done the time when the Singapore government or a large buyer in Singapore actually implements it. So what we have done at SPF is an example. We have worked with SingPost. We spoke to SingPost. They are interested to implement and enhance their procurement criteria. But at the same time, we are rolling out a program to help SingPost suppliers and prospective suppliers to uplift their sustainability performance. It's another capability training program that we have just recently launched. And so this solves the market failure because we overcome the chicken and egg problem. We give the large enterprises the confidence to enhance their procurement criteria, but at the same time, we don't let the SMEs struggle and figure out on their own. We support them, we handhold them along this journey. So this is some of the things that we are doing at SPF.
Thank you so much. And I've actually realized that we've come up to time on this session. Apologies, there were a number of questions. Might not be able to answer, but please feel free to reach out to the panelists here. I think the calling and end statement here really is to look beyond your ESG measurement as your initiative. It is about making sure that you have the right organization, do it in a sustainability manner, work on initiatives that you can maintain going forward because it's going to take some time. It is a longer journey than we would have expected. And ultimately as well, in closing up, it is about ecosystem coming together and working together. So if you're a bank, you're a solution provider, you're an SME, you're a trade association, you're a government, you've got grants, please do reach out to Greenprint, reach out to our panelists, because I think everyone here would forge a deeper note and bring us that much closer together to help businesses in their transition journey. With that, I'd love to thank our fellow panelists. Thank you so much for sharing with us your insights. It has been a lot of fun actually having this conversation with you. And thank you to our audience as well for staying with us throughout the journey.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.